Howdy folks, today we're going to be recording some stereo acoustic guitar with just one microphone with this, the Austrian Audio OC818 dual output condenser mic. So stereo recording with one mic is a pretty unconventional concept, so how does that work? Well, with the Austrian Audio OC818's dual outputs, you can see here the bottom, the XLR output, which is standard, and the sort of mini XLR here that we've got on the back of the mic, we have separate outputs for each of the captures on the front and the back of the microphone. Now with some really cool wizardry using their plugins, including Polar Designer and Stereo Creator, we can alter the direction and projection properties of the microphones by customizing polar patterns really flexibly in our DAWs in post, and also change the stereo recording technique from pseudo stereo to mid-side with the click of a button. So I've got my buddy Josh here to play some guitar for us for this demonstration today. He's going to be playing a beautiful Gibson custom shop Bannerhead J45 acoustic. So let's get this mic into position and start pulling some sounds. So I've positioned the microphone about 30 to 45 centimeters away from the 12th fret of the guitar, with the null point of the microphone actually facing the instrument. That allows the dual capsules on either side of the microphone to be our stereo field pointing at 90 degrees to the guitar. So let's have a listen to how that sounds. Take it away, Josh. Okay, so we've captured Josh's wonderful playing in stereo. So first of all, we're going to take a look at the Stereo Creator plugin here. So let's bring up Josh's take here, have a listen. Without it on, it's going to be pretty much bog standard what it sounds like when I turn it back on, but there may be some differences. Let's have a listen. And I'll turn on the Stereo Creator plugin now. And we've got it in pseudo stereo mode, which we can also change to mid-side if we want to, which would give us a really strong mono center, allowing for greater mono compatibility. But in pseudo stereo mode, we can switch between patterns here from omni to a wider cardioid to a cardioid to a more super or hypercardioid pattern. So let's have a listen to what that sounds like. We'll start with omni. So it's very much a mono sounding guitar. There's a lot of room noise going on. We'll switch over to the wide cardioid. And that stereo information has come back in. We'll go to our traditional cardioid. It's wider even still because we're getting more separation because of the polar pattern. And let's go to the last polar pattern here. So super directional, just get it kicking again. So it's also changing the tonality of the instrument. That's brought in a lot more low mid in my headphones here. We switch back. So I'm really liking the standard cardioid sound here on the stereo. It's got a really, really nice spread. But yeah, just illustrating what changes you can make in post after recording just with this mic. We haven't had to fix that beforehand on the way in. We have a lot of flexibility to change things as we need in the mix as things change. So from here, I would just do a little bit of processing just to tighten this up. Probably starting with some reduction or some cuts to the EQ. So I've got my stock standard default EQ7 plugin here, just taking out some low end with a high pass filter, a little bit of the boxiness around 300 Hertz. And we've just notched out one particular frequency. I always like to sort of pull out some problem things in the top end, especially if the guitar's by itself. Often when it's in a mix, that's going to be masked by other elements in the recording. But with the guitar being by itself, I just sort of have a little mess around and see what I can find in there that might be a bit abrasive and harsh. Next, probably want to do a little bit of light compression. Josh's strumming's pretty consistent, dynamically stable. So I've just chucked a pretty standard plug-in, the LA3A compressor. A lot of people tend to like this one on acoustic guitar, me too. So we chuck that on. It's just going to catch those peaks, those big digs in he's doing. You can see nothing more than sort of 3 dB of reduction. And lastly, just some additive EQ. Another go-to is the API channel strip, or any sort of API EQ. Switch that on. Found that a little bit harsh in the upper mid, so I might roll that back a little bit. But I've added a bit of a top end sheen, 15K. So we'll bypass that again. Might even take a little bit more low mid out of that. Some body back in. And lastly, just a little bit of reverb. I always like to push it too much and then sort of back it off. So hear the tail. It's a bit much. Pull it back. Without the verb. With the verb, just for a little bit more presence along the stereo spectrum, just to really reinforce what we're getting out of the microphone itself. Cool, so that's where we've ended up. I think we've pulled a really great sound with just the one microphone really that only took a couple of minutes to set up. All of the flexibility that we have with the polar patterning functionality and the dual outputs just opens up a world of possibilities with this microphone beyond just what we've done today. Immediately I can see the option to record 2 vocalists doing a duet in the same room at the same time facing each other on either side of the microphone, and with the dual output functionality you'd have a lot more flexibility to process that in post afterwards. I'm super stoked with this mic, having used AKG C414s in the past, and this being kind of a spiritual successor to that mic. I'm really happy with how this sounds, how lush and expansive and wide the stereo imaging was. And remember, with just one mic, there's no phase issues. You just chuck it up and it sounds good straight away. So to me, when I'm time poor in the studio, being able to do that in a couple of minutes, that's a big bonus. So that's all for today. I'm super stoked with this mic and the sounds we pulled. I really feel it adds some cutting edge modern features to a classic workhorse design. You can grab the OC818 in-store or online at mannys.com.au. My name's James. Thanks for tuning in. I'll catch you next time.